Thunder Bay Police partner with the DSAB to provide a visible presence at 3 of its buildings. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Ryan Bonazzo. Police and the District Social Services Board have launched a new housing safety initiative. The pilot program is meant to improve safety at DSAB buildings with high criminal activity. Special constables will work directly with tenants to prevent issues while also trying to build trust. Jaden Billick has the details.
The Thunder Bay DSAB is teaming up with City Police to roll out the new Housing Safety Unit, a pilot program aimed at improving overall safety and well-being in DSAB-owned social housing facilities, which have seen a rise in criminal activity in recent years. CEO Ken Ranta says the new initiative will place these dedicated special constables in select buildings to patrol and provide a more visible and supportive presence, and it all stems from tenant feedback.
One of the suggestions was more integration with police services. We have been doing that for years. We have ongoing patrols and individuals who are very familiar with our tenants. Dealing with colleagues down in Southern Ontario, specifically Toronto, learning about their Toronto Housing Safety Unit, a very broad police initiative through Toronto properties. We thought there might be something we could do up here that really dedicates the resources.
Officials say this comes at a time when housing communities are facing growing safety concerns. Having dedicated constables on site around the clock will take major pressure off police resources while giving residents a consistent, approachable presence to rely on. Inspector Jason Ryback explains the purpose of these special constables.
We could see if it would have the effective value of decreasing calls for service for us as a police service, but coming more from a holistic approach of helping get people in the right streams of support versus having to deal from an enforcement side, and that really was the start of it. And so we figured 4 special constables. We would target some of the more problematic buildings in the city, so that we can really see the impact that that will have, with the hopes of expanding this program in the future.
Special Constable with the Housing Safety Unit, Crystal Wisherick, is proud of her new uniform and shares her thoughts leading into her new duties.
I'm actually very excited. Yeah, we've met with some of the tenants already and they're really happy to see us, which is great. It's a pilot project, so we definitely have some kinks to work out, but we have our own ideas too that we want to work on within the buildings. We do have arresting authorities and we can issue tickets as well.
Jaden Billick, TBT News.
A GoFundMe has been set up for a family who lost their home in a devastating fire last week in the Kaministiquia area. The blaze broke out on October 21st at a property on Old Dawson Trail. No one was home at the time, but both the house and the garage were a complete loss. The family's 2 dogs were unharmed, but unfortunately their cat didn't survive. The Cam Volunteer Fire Department managed to keep the flames from spreading to an older house on the property and also saved the family's pickup truck. The homeowner's sister launched the GoFundMe soon after the fire. It's already raised over $2,300 toward its $3,500 goal. Turning to Queen's Park, the Ford government wants to scrap fixed election dates in Ontario and increase the amount of money that people can donate to political parties. CTV's Siobhan Morris brings us the details.
It's a democratic dance that begins with a visit to the lieutenant governor, a necessary step to trigger an election. Now the government's moving to eliminate set election dates, the law in Ontario for more than 20 years.
As far as I was concerned, this is a fake law put in by the Liberal government.
The next election scheduled for June of 2029, but the change would allow progressive conservatives to stay in power until at least 2030. The premier of the day can already send voters to the polls when it makes sense for their party, something Doug Ford did earlier this year.
Call an election when the time is appropriate, up to 5 years, but it could be 4, it could be 3.
Most of the opposition fire is aimed at a planned bump to the maximum political donation, from $3,400 to $5,000.
He is widening the trough so more of his friends can sidle on up to that trough.
The Attorney General insists there's nothing controversial here.
Manitoba, Alberta, Nova Scotia all have similar limits, Madam Speaker.
Playing catch-up with municipal rules.
We were well behind the City of Toronto. You can donate $5,000.
But that amount is spread across many candidates. The ceiling for donations for mayor is $2,500.
They're doing this in the middle of a fundraising scandal. What does that tell you about that?
Opposition parties keep leaning on the Premier to fire the Minister of Labour over what looks like preferential treatment in awarding Skills Development Fund grants.
They're just opening the floodgates to more Greenbelt scandals and slush development fund scandals.
The government's also moving to make permanent a per-vote subsidy. The Attorney General says it's about maintaining a balance between private and public money in elections. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation has called it political welfare. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The mayors from two communities west of Thunder Bay take issue with federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's stance on immigration in Canada and their impact on housing and the workforce. The Conservative leader was in Thunder Bay a few weeks ago and shared his views on the controversial topic. Joey Langdon has more.
The federal Conservative leader was at the Domtar sawmill in Thunder Bay in mid-October, making his first stop in the Northwest since the federal election back in April. He came to pitch his party's platform to the region, and as part of that, spoke about their pledge to slash immigration and asylum claims in Canada.
Cutting back on phony, fraudulent refugee claims, people who are living in hotels and getting more benefits than the Canadian citizens who've paid into the system their whole lives. That we're spending literally billions of dollars housing, feeding, and paying for people who are perfectly safe in their home country.
But for Northern Ontario towns, which have been struggling to maintain their populations and labor force, that argument often doesn't hold up. The town of Atikokan has been welcoming Ukrainian refugees fleeing the war with Russia.
It's definitely something that's going to help enhance the community, and they are great people. They are volunteering in the community. They're out at the events, and the town of Atikokan has really embraced them.
Atikokan Mayor Rob Ferguson and Fort Frances Mayor Andrew Hallekas say, in fact, immigrants and refugees have become the lifeblood of towns like theirs, and they strongly disagree with Poilievre's statements on the topic.
We desperately need these immigrant workers, and we welcome them and we want them. I know the situation is different in urban areas, and so I think that we need to have a solution where there's focused or directed immigration, where immigrants who would like to come to Canada are directed or encouraged to work in smaller rural areas. But definitely Mr. Poilievre's sentiment is not accurate for our area.
We don't have refugees or immigrants taking our jobs or anything. We need them to grow our communities, and they bring a lot to the community, and we are very welcoming. So I would hope, and we've been trying to work on this to try to make a carve out or something for Northwestern Ontario. A lot of them came to Canada with a suitcase. That's all they had, and through the economic development and Domtar Forest Products, they set up them at the Atikokan Hotel. It was an empty building that the economic development had taken back.
Northwestern Ontario only receives around 1.6% of the total immigrants coming into Ontario every year. In fact, according to most recent statistics, Northwestern Ontario has a net decrease in migration because of people leaving the area. These statistics can make the overall federal debate around the immigration problem sound a little foreign to people from the region. Joey Langdon, TBT News.
The head of the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario continued her visit to Thunder Bay this morning with a stop at Confederation College. Dr. Doris Greenspun is overseeing the implementation of the best practice guidelines into the curriculum. Max Silverstein was there and brings us more.
It was a day of learning and reflection at Confederation College as the nursing program continues their work as a best practice spotlight organization. The designation was given to the college by the RNAO in May of 2024. The group's CEO, Dr. Doris Greenspun, watched the local nursing students give demonstrations where they implemented the best practice guidelines and spoke about the impact the guidelines can have on improving the level of care nurses are able to provide. Nursing student Erin Beamer discussed how the guidelines can help nurses with long-term care.
Our work is valued through us in our education. It's instilled from our professors working with the BPG and transitions in care, coming from a community where I work with long-term care and I see where there's gaps in the transitions in care, and knowing her work is being incorporated is pretty big.
The college's Dean of Academic Programming, Shane Strickland, says the decision to implement the program at Confederation was an easy one and credits the nursing faculty with the seamless transition.
It's really integral and important that our students are provided the best evidence-informed information that they can get through the best practice guidelines, because that only enhances their ability to provide high-quality care to their patients when they graduate.
Grinspun is hopeful that when the 3-year pre-designation period is over, the college will continue their partnership with the RNAO.
But it will be fantastic that they become a BPSO host, which is the next level, to help train and help other practical nursing programs, because this is the first anywhere in the world.
Max Silverstein, TBT News.
Well, let's turn our attention to the weather now. And Haley, seems like I'm saying the same thing over and over really throughout the month of October. Once again, we are above seasonal temperatures.
Yeah, it is definitely nice to see, and it has been the trend for most of this month, but just as October is nearing an end, this trend may be nearing an end as well, but not for today. We had a lovely high of 11. A normal high for this time of year, just a little reminder, is around 6 degrees, so a high of 11 is wonderful to see. That happened around 3 this afternoon. We didn't stay there for long, but to reach it is quite nice, and actually we had quite a warm overnight into the early morning hours as well. Just as many people were staying up to watch the Blue Jays game last night, the temperatures decided to stay up as well, as our low was 5 degrees, and that didn't happen until around 9 this morning. So really not that bad. We are supposed to be around the freezing mark or below for this time of year. So quite a nice wake up after having a long night. That's for sure. Not a startling wake up, at least. Now, winds were from the east-southeast at times, but when we saw our lowest period of winds and our gustiest period of winds, it was from the east. Now, only 28 kilometers an hour. That's not too gusty for the most part. Sky conditions mainly cloudy with periods of just partly cloudy skies so that the sun could peek through every now and then. Now, Fiona told us about a system yesterday that was hardly moving, and it's very interesting because it really did just that. It hardly moved over the course of the night and into today. It's almost as if it hit a wall, an invisible wall right around Kenora, and just stayed there and is now trickling out of the region, which made it look like this today. We still see some light showers in Red Lake, and they've seen light rain all throughout the day today, and they've stayed very steady temperature-wise as well. 6 degrees consistently all day long. Kenora was 6 degrees all day long up until this hour, where they've just peaked up 1 degree up to 7, but they saw some light rain and some fog and mist as well. Fort Frances, they've been able to bump up temperatures. They fluctuated between 5 degrees now to 9 degrees. They're just misty at this hour, but also saw some light rain. Dryden did stay dry for the most part, and they had a cloudier day, but they also got to warm up a little bit. Now, 8 degrees is closer to seasonal, but still slightly above. We saw around 9 degrees as a trend for majority of the region, although there are some areas like Greenstone, Nipigon, and Marathon. They actually all had highs of 11 earlier today. They're now cooling off. Areas like Armstrong and Greenstone were sunny for the most part today, which was nice to see, but they did see winds from the south-southeast gusting around 40 kilometers an hour at times, so a little bit windier there. Now, Wawa, they had a high of 13 today. They're still at 12, which is quite nice. They were a little colder last night, though, so they had a low of -3. So seeing them warm up is a little bit more normal for this time of year, but still the temperature is quite above normal. Now, for Sault Ste. Marie, they're at 10. They had a high of 13 earlier today, and they had a mainly sunny day. As for tonight in Thunder Bay, we'll drop down to the freezing mark, and like I said, that is more normal for this time of year. Partly cloudy conditions, winds continuously from the southeast, and not too gusty, not too quiet, just right, as Goldilocks would say. But we'll have to see where we're going to land for the rest of this month, Ryan, because it is going to be interesting. I know a lot of people are anticipating what the temperatures are going to be this weekend, and it's looking like the Mother Nature's trying to scare us a little bit. And I'll tease you that for now, and I'll tell you the rest later.
All right, okay, thanks a lot, Haley.
No